everyone, April here. Welcome to my channel and welcome to another First Issue Friday. Happy Leap Year Day! Yes, we got an extra day this month and thank goodness because it gave me more time to read. A gang of first issues came out this month and I selected a few to discuss with you. So let's just jump right into it. First up, we have The Man Who Effed Up Time from Aftershock Comics. This is written by John Layman and the art is done by Carl Mercert. This is a sci-fi adventure time travel story about a man named Sean Bennett. He is a lab technician in a scientific laboratory that has just developed and had their first successful run with time travel. And as excited as he is about this breakthrough, he is a little down in the dumps. His life hasn't gone the way he had hoped it would. He wasn't able to complete his degree. He has a low-level position inside of the scientific lab and he lost his girlfriend. You know, the typical doldrums of everyday life. Well, one night when he's drinking away his feelings, a man approaches him and says that they have just discovered the answer to all of his problems. Time travel. Just go back for a little bit and change a few things and see if you can make things better for yourself. So in his drunken haze, he believes this is a great idea. He goes to the lab, he gets into the machine and goes back 1 week. He makes some typical little tweaks to his life and upon his return, as you would suspect, everything has changed. Abraham Lincoln VI is now ruler of what is America's. Everything looks like it's out of ancient Egypt with a lot of high, tall, desert sand walls. And if that isn't bad enough, the time police is on his tail, suggesting strongly that he fix what he broke before they do it for him. And if you've seen the Langoliers, you know how they fix things. I'm a sci-fi nut, especially for time travel stories, and this one really fits into my wheelhouse. I thought the writing was very well done. The banter between the characters was very strong. There was some exposition through narration that kind of gives you a bird's eye view of what is happening and what may be going on in the character's mind. And I am putting a question mark on the back of that because I'm not entirely sure who, when, or where this character is narrating from. Also, I think the artwork is really lovely. I love the use of color here. I love blue. I think it's just bright and it keeps the energy of the piece very up and light. So it really is just a kind of comedic sci-fi adventure story. I don't feel that this is going to get too dark. I think it's going to be fast, quick, funny, and maybe just a touch of introspection in here. Overall, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a nice, strong first issue. So if time travel adventure stories are your deal, I suggest picking this one up. Next up, we have Backtrack from Oni Press. This was written by Brian Joines. The art is done by Jake Elfhick and the color is done by Doug Garbark. This one was a little surprising for me. From the cover, I expected something entirely different. In this story, we meet a woman named Allison Levy. She is at a low point in her life due to something tragic happening in her past that she is not able to recover from. Similar to Sean, she is in a bar drinking her worries away when she is approached by a man named Quillix. He is offering her a chance of a do-over if she is willing to enter and win a race that he has set up. It's kind of a gumball, cannonball kind of race where he invites an eclectic mix of people, all seeking some kind of do-over, change, or ultimate wish. However, where they think it's just gonna be a straight car race, it turns out to be something way more surreal. Let's just say dinosaurs are involved and people start dying. Enjoyed this, and you know, like I said, it was a surprise to me because I was expecting this to be a straight hard-boiled kind of car story, but I like the sci-fi adventure aspect of the story. I thought there was a nice little touch. We don't know what Quillix's ultimate goal is with the race, but I doubt it's anything benevolent. What I will say, I did like the script. I thought the writing was really strong. They didn't have to use a whole lot of exposition and narration. The script and the artwork told you everything that you needed to know. It took me a couple of pages to really kind of get invested in it, but I would say by page 3 or 4, I was pretty much cemented in enjoying this story and continuing on with the rest. As for the artwork, at first I didn't really think I was gonna like it that much. It was a little dark, it was a little gritty, and considering that I wasn't quite sure where the story was gonna take me, I really wasn't feeling the artwork in the beginning. However, as I got more into the story and into the book, the artwork really did kind of speak to me. I like it a lot. It really did add a lot of atmosphere to the story, you know, because it is a car race narrative, time travel. So there should be momentum, movement, there should be grit, there should be a lot of air and angst to it. And I think that the art really did support that. So overall, I like Backtrack a lot. So much so that it is definitely a candidate to go on my pull list. I will say that it was difficult tracking this one down. In fact, I had to order it in order to get a copy. That's how difficult it was to get a copy of. Just to interject here, I wish more independent publishers had more space inside of comic book shops, because where it's definitely great to be able to walk into a comic book shop and order things, but it would definitely be more beneficial to the publisher and the reader to be able to walk into the store, see the cover. I mean, look at this cover. This cover is amazing. See the cover, pick it up and say, you know what, I'm interested in this, and take it home with you. But until that happens, if you're interested in Backtrack, reach out to your local comic book shop, have them order you a copy, because all I can say is Quillix feels like a crossroad demon to me, and that always means a good time. Not really, because crossroad demons are literally from hell. Next up, from Boom Studios, we have Alienated. This was written by Simon Superior, art done by Chris Wildgoose, and the color is done by Andre May. This is a variant cover that was done by Jamie McKelvey from The Wicked and the Divine fame. This story is about 3 teens named Sam, Samantha, Samuel, and Samir. They're on their way to high school. They cut through the forest, like most kids do who have a forest between their homes in high school, and they see this object hanging from a tree. So even though they don't really know each other, just spotting this weird thing together kind of bonds them for a moment, and they all try to help each other out in order to retrieve this object. They aren't able to retrieve it right off, but they do kind of touch it, and instantly they are connected telepathically. They can hear each other's thoughts, and they can communicate with each other through telepathy. And instead of freaking out like most people probably would, they head on to school and they experience this connection with each other throughout the day. And at first it was a curiosity, then it's a little annoying, and by the end of school they are heading back into the forest to find out what this thing was in order to be disconnected, because nobody, and I mean nobody, wants somebody inside of their head. However, if they thought their first encounter in the forest was weird, their second one is even worse, because someone ends up dead. Yeah, teenage life sucks. I like this. I did. The writing was very strong. The artwork is gorgeous. I mean, it's just beautiful. I really did enjoy the story. However, where I still feel there is plenty of room in this genre, they are really at the top of this Stranger Things kind of genre that is going on in all of entertainment. This isn't even the only book in my pulls this month that has this kind of overall theme to going on with it, which I get is really popular, but there are only so many of these stories I'm gonna read back to back, you know what I mean? However, of the few that I read this month, this is the strongest one, I think. I thought the story was well told. I think the characters were definitely thoroughly defined by the time we get to the end of the first issue. What I really did enjoy about the writing of this book is kind of the 2-layered storytelling that it told, where you have them throughout the course of the school day talking to each other through telepathy, not being in the same classroom or even in the same area, in the lunch area. They're still communicating with each other, while at the same same time, they are communicating with their normal everyday life, talking to their teachers, smoozing to a girl, or trying to get somebody to be their friend. That could have been really cloudy and muddy and confusing, but I would say Superhero did a fantastic job laying out the story, giving it to us piece by piece, but making it very dynamic. So if you are not sick of a Stranger Things type of story, teenagers in peril in some kind of sci-fi universe, then I would suggest picking this up because it's really good. This is a strong contender for me to pick up in a trade form. And who is gonna miss out on these Jamie McKelvey covers? Not me. Not me, that's who. Next up, we have Undone by Blood, or The Shadow of a Wanted Man from Aftershock Comics. This is written by Lonnie Nadler and Zach Thompson, and the art is done by Sammy Cavella. This was a bit of a 2-for-1. The main story centers around a woman named Ethel Lane. She has just arrived in a small town in Arizona, seeking revenge for the death of her family, and she is kind of being propelled by a Western novel that she is reading, where the lead character Saul is on a revenge quest himself for the recent attack on his family and the abduction of his son. She seems to be feeding off of his story. However, we get both stories told in tandem. I don't know if one or both are going to reach their goal of vengeance. However, Saul's story is going a hell of a lot better than her own. I really like the Western aspect of this story, especially Saul's story. It's way more compelling and exciting than Ethel seems to be at the moment. So much so, it has inspired me to look for more spaghetti Western style comics, because I would think those would be really exciting and interesting to read. I don't know which writer is writing which part of the story, or if they're both sharing the tales, but Saul's story, The Shadow of the Wanted Man, is really the one that's most interesting to me. With Saul's character, you get more story. You know who he is, you know what his life was like before the attack on him. The artwork, not my fave. I mean, you get like two versions of it. You have Saul's motif here, very Western desert feel, and then you have Ethel's. Hers is way more colorful and vibrant, but there's still kind of a darkness to it that really fits her character. I don't know if I would continue to read this in single issue. If it was just Saul's story, I really would be compelled to, but as is, I probably would trade weight something like this so I would get the full aspect, because I really felt kind of left in the dark with Ethel's story. I don't know, if it was just about her, I would feel kind of unsatisfied with this book, and I probably wouldn't pick up the next issue. But that doesn't mean it isn't good. Again, I do find the Shadow of the Wanted Man narrative really compelling and interesting. And if you guys know of any Western style comics that may be out, can you put those suggestions in the comments below, because I'd be really interested in checking those out. This really whet my palate for a nice spaghetti Western. So I hope there's something out there that fills that gap. Next, without a doubt, is my favorite of the month, and that is Plunge #1 from DC Black Label and Hill House Comics. This is written by Joe Hill. The art is done by Stuart Eminem, and the color is done by Dave Stewart. This cover right here is a variant cardstock cover that was done by Gary Frank. Yeah, that Gary Frank. This story centers around a salvage crew that has been hired to go to the Arctic Circle to recover a ship that has been missing for 40 years. It was a scientific ship, and therefore they're only going to recover maybe some scientific samples or any data that the ship may have collected before it went missing. They do not anticipate that there will be any survivors. Surprise! Yeah, there's obviously something alive on board. Not sure if it's still human though. If you're not familiar with Joe Hill, he is a novelist. He is a writer of Nosferatu, Horns. He also did the graphic novels of Lock and Key. And this is his latest venture with Hill House Comics, which is an imprint under the DC label, and he comes out with these horror style comics, which honestly I haven't really been drawn to. This is the first one because I am trash for all things aquatic. I love the water. I love stories based around water, be it Moby Dick or Deep Blue Sea. I'm your girl. So this one was right up my alley, and of course, with a cover like this, it grabbed me from the word go. Aside from my bias for water, what I loved about this overall was the writing. The script is mwah, pitch perfect. The characters are so clearly defined and well developed just in a short 30 pages without a ton of exposition and narrative. It is quite clear who we're dealing with, and I can raise my hand right now and swear an oath that I am completely devoted to Captain Gage Carpenter. He is amazing, and you are gonna love him, his crew, and their cargo hold full of dildos. Yeah, I said dildos. The writing is humorous, suspenseful, exciting, engaging. If you like those adventure-style stories that have a little more horror or sinister or suspenseful feel to them, this is definitely something that you should pick up. And the artwork is terrific too. Look at that. This kind of reminds me of the artwork in Olympus. The art was done by Gary Frank, but the writing was done by Jeff Johns. I don't know why that leaped out at me while I was reading this. Maybe because I had the same type of enjoyment in reading that as I did with reading this. Needless to say, I'm a huge stan of this already. I've already added it to my pull list, and this is my favorite #1 I read this month. And with my true biased opinion, I think everybody should read this because it's a good time that could be had by all. Take the Plunge. Yeah, I tried it. And last, we have Finger Guns from Vault Comics. This was written by Justin Richards, and the art is done by Val Halverson. This is about two teens, one named Wes, one named Sadie, and they discovered that they can change or manipulate people's emotions by just firing finger guns at them.
I didn't do it! Okay. Everybody just calm down.
Wes and Sadie are very similar to the teens in Alienated, where they're just flying under the radar. They're slightly more neglected by their surroundings and the members in their life. And I don't think they expect anything extraordinary to ever happen to them. So when they discover they have this ability, I'm not certain they know what to do with it. And they don't seem too inquisitive about why it happened in the first place. However, there's a lot going on in each of their lives in which this ability could possibly help. This was an introductory book. You get just introduced to both Wes and Sadie, where Wes pretty much is an open book. I would say Sadie is hiding a lot of her sadness and disappointment. This book is giving me radio flyer feels. I feel like this is going to be way more involved and in depth than just a lighthearted Stranger Things type of adventure sci-fi story. I really think that this is going to delve deep into the minds of young people struggling with basically being neglected and invisible. But yeah, there's just something weighted about the story that really doesn't make it maudlin by any stretch of the imagination, but it's just not something flighty and disposable. On top of that, I love the artwork. I thought it was really fun and colorful, so saturated, just beautifully done. And in certain instances, I thought it was really nicely expressive. Overall, I do like the book. I thought it was a really interesting story. Again, though I don't feel it's as light and as fun as maybe the Stranger Things or the Alienated is, I am more intrigued about where this is going. I am a sucker for a good character study, and I think that's what we're going to get out of this. So this is something that I would probably put on my trade wait list and pick up when it's over. Usually these vault books run about maybe 6 or 7 issues, and then you'll get a trade of it. So I'll probably wait until then and just read it all in one shot. I did like it. I did enjoy it. I thought Wes and Sadie were both relatable and empathetic, and I am curious to see how this story develops. So those were some of the #1s I read this month. Tell me your thoughts. Are you interested in reading any of these, or have you read them already? Let me know in the comments below your thoughts and your interest in some of these stories. Also, like I said before, if any of you know of any Western style comics that are out, hit me up and put those down in the comments too, because I'm really interested in kind of looking into that genre. Also, of these 6, I do plan on adding these 2 to my pull list. Plunge is already there. Backtrack will be added later this week. The rest I'll either trade away or not. However, I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. I know these comic review videos aren't the most popular. However, if you are interested in seeing more, please like and subscribe and share this video. It would be really appreciated. I hope you are enjoying your extra day of February. And if you have the time this weekend, go support your local comic book shops and see what you can find there. Thank you so much again for watching. I will see you guys next time. Bye.